This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Hercules Tires, right on our strength, and by Grunt Style. Now, with all the news from NASCAR touring, local and international series racing, here are Kyle Rickey and Hannah Newhouse.
East meets West in Iowa, and NASCAR goes full throttle north of the border. Welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast for Wednesday, August 1st, 2018. Kyle Rickey here in Killingly, Connecticut, joined by Hannah Newhouse in Concord, North Carolina, in the home of the Motor Racing Network studios. And how is it already August? Where, oh where is this summer going?
I know, I feel like just the other day we were doing our first show right after Daytona for Speed Weeks, and we were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe race season started. And I was just telling someone the other day, they're like, man, our season's almost over. I'm like, no, it's not. We just started. And then, holy cow, yeah, it's August. Like, where has the season gone? That's exactly what you said, but holy cow.
The K&N East, I think they only have like 3 races left at Watkins Glen this weekend, and you know, next month we'll crown their champion at the Dover International Speedway in Delaware. Speaking of the K&N Series, the East and West, they were in action this past weekend at the Iowa Speedway. You were there for NASCAR Home Tracks and the Motor Racing Network, as you were on air with us for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Kind of the same old story at the front of the field. DGR Crosley's got it going together right now with Tyler Ankrum.
Yeah, it is. The K&N East versus West thing is such a great event every year, and this year they've got 2 of them, as the East and West also will go to Gateway in a couple weeks. But the East and the West at Iowa, it's such a fun event. It builds up hype. You know, who's gonna win the race, who's gonna run better. So it's such a fun rivalry between the two. But the East Coast has definitely generally held up their end of the deal for the last couple of years, with the exception of Brandon McReynolds. He swept Iowa a couple of years ago, which was pretty cool. But yeah, DGR Crosley, man, they are almost borderline untouchable. Tyler Ankrum took home that win, and had it not been Tyler Ankrum, we probably would have seen his teammate Tyler Dipple take home the win had he not ran out of fuel around the halfway break. So an unfortunate break for him, but the West Coast definitely showed up to play as well. I mean, we had the Sunrise Ford guys. You've got Derek Thorne, who finished second. You got Ryan Partridge, who finished third. So the West still showed up to play, but Tyler Ankrum back on top, making it 3 in a row.
And beginning to walk away with that championship. You mentioned Derek Thorne in second, Ryan Partridge in third. Fourth went to Spencer Davis. Fifth, Ruben Garcia Jr. The championship standings. Tyler Ankrum, 37 points over Tyler Dipple in the championship standings. Ronnie Bassett Jr., 80 points back. I don't think he's going to be able to come back from that far back, Hannah. 80 points, a lot of points with only a handful of races to go.
Yeah, when you've only got pretty much Gateway and Dover left, including Watkins Glen this weekend, but they're shaking up the field this weekend. You've got some big names, including, you know, Brett Moffitt. You've got Bubba Wallace that's going to be running a K&N car. So it's a stacked field this weekend at Watkins, which could play in favor for a lot of people trying to make up points, or it could play against some people. So really, ultimately, you have to look at Gateway and Dover for the East season, and it's really going to come down to these 2 DGR Crosley guys unless something crazy happens in these next 2 races.
So a runaway with one driver and team right now in the East, and in the West Series, anything but a runaway. Derek Thorne is tied with his Sunrise Ford Racing teammate Ryan Partridge for the championship point lead, 26 points ahead of Bill McAnally Racing driver Derek Kraus. So much tighter right now as far as the West is concerned. They also have, I believe, 5 races to go, I think, in their season.
Yeah, you know, Bob Brancotti, who runs Sunrise Ford, owns those cars. He's just got to be like beaming with pride right now. He came into this season going, okay, I want to give the Bill McAnally Racing boys a run for their money. And that's exactly what they've done. They've had strong finishes. They're 1-2 in the points championship right now. And their whole goal was to dethrone BMR from this championship run that they've been on. And they've got a pretty dang good shot of doing it so far.
The West Series next heads to Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington, and we will talk to the promoter at Evergreen Speedway here in just a few minutes. And I know, Hannah, you're good friends with Jeremy Anders, longtime promoter at Evergreen, a track that really has it going right now on the West Coast.
They do. Evergreen Speedway is such a unique place. They've got this 5/8 mile, which is really, really fast, creates great racing. They've got a 3/8 they run on a local basis. They run big shows like the Summer Showdown, which was about a month and a half ago, that brought a great crowd, great show of cars, but they also run, drift cars, global rallycross. They've got a dirt bike track in the center. Like, that facility, its fairgrounds, is just such a cool thing. And Jeremy Anders and the team over at Evergreen Speedway, they have really got it going on. So it's great to see racing really alive and healthy in the Northwest at Evergreen.
And the track hosts one of my favorite events, the 90 Minutes of Fear Figure 8 race, one of the best figure 8 races in the country, and something that is a must-see at that racetrack. Also on the show, in fact, he's coming up next. There we go. Yeah, I know Craig, he's a big fan of the 90 Minutes of Fear. We'll talk about that event here coming up in a little bit. But first, Cole Powell will join us here on the show, a driver that's beginning to shine and beginning to be a championship favorite in just his rookie season in the NASCAR Pinty Series, picking up a win last weekend in Saskatoon.
Yeah, Cole Powell's got only 5 starts this year, and picking up that win, he's definitely in contention for that championship. So looking forward to talking to him and, congratulating him on his first win.
And just 4 points behind championship point leader LP Dumoulin. Cole Powell will join us after the break.
Grunt Style. The American fighting spirit is in everything we make. We are 500 patriots and veterans strong, bringing clothing manufacturing back to the United States of America. Always moving forward, never retreating, never giving up. We are Grunt Style, and this we'll defend. Get yours at gruntstyle.com or on the track this week at Watkins Glen International.
This is Steve Post. Join Aaron Evernham, Ashley Strummy, and I live from the granddaddy of them all, the 58th annual 5-Hour Energy Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's General Store. Textron Off-Road Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit will be live August 8th through the 12th, 7 to 8 Eastern Time. Join us live from the Fan Zone at Knoxville Raceway or listen on MRN.com, WingNation.com, and Facebook Live from the Cushion. Textron Off-Road Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, live from the 5-Hour Energy Knoxville Nationals.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Hercules Tires and by Grunt Style. Here are Kyle Rickey and Hannah Newhouse.
Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network, presented by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength. Kyle Rickey joined by Hannah Newhouse, and one of the newest winners, and I say one of because there were a few new winners last week in the NASCAR Pinty Series as they made their West Coast swing up in Canada, and the winner of race number 2 at Saskatoon last Wednesday night in the Velocity Prairie Thunder Twin 125s. Cole Powell joins us now on the guest line. Cole, welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Let's start with last Wednesday night, 125 laps, coming off of a second place finish in race number 1 earlier in the evening. Kind of walk us through your night. Twin features, 125 laps apiece, a good run in race number 1. How much did you learn in that first race that allowed you to make the pass on LP in race number 2 and score that win?
Yeah, last week on Wednesday there at Wyatt Group, that speedway actually treated me really nice. We got there in practice, and I had never been there, so just did a little walk around in a golf cart and kind of got the lines from my spotter, Jeff Gutler, and we went out in first practice, and the boys had a pretty good sporty hot rod for me right off the trailer. So it's really nice getting to these tracks that I've never been to and having a car that I'm not fighting with, and I can just focus on my line rather than fighting the car. So that was a huge bonus for us. The first 125 laps, I just kind of cruised the first halfway. I didn't want to wreck anything, and we'd be out of it for the second 125. I just didn't have enough for that 24. We were just fighting a little loose in the center of the corner, and I was happy with the second place, and we were pretty confident going into the second one that we had something pretty sporty for those guys in the second 125.
Now, this is your rookie season in the NASCAR Pinty Series, and ultimately, you captured a win in, I believe it's your 5th start in the series. Did you guys, going into the 2018 season, expect to contend for a win only 5 races in?
I don't know if we expected to win this early. I know we were expecting to win one this year for sure. These EHR guys and Cops Bildahl and Kubota make everything possible for this year. I knew coming into the season that it's a proven team with Jason Hathaway winning in previous years. So I had quite a bit of pressure on me on the ovals here. I'm super happy that I could finally get a win for them, especially this early in the season. Now we know that we're capable of winning. Now we can just focus on winning a few more.
3 races and 3 nights last week. The doubleheader, of course, at Wyatt Group Raceway in Saskatoon last Wednesday, a second and a win there. Couple of nights later, you guys are at Edmonton, a top 5 finish there as well. How draining was last week's, that 72 hours for you guys? How draining was it for you and for your race team?
It wasn't too bad for me. For the race team, they had to work a couple extra days there after Wyant Group Speedway. There wasn't too much damage to the car, but changing the setup for Edmonton Speedway, because it's so much different, they had to work an extra couple days there. So they were kind of feeling it at the end of the week, and I was feeling it after Saturday night. Man, 300 laps around Edmonton Speedway is and almost caution free. I think we only had 2 cautions. It was a pretty stressful race there. We unloaded not so good, and we were fighting it pretty well all night. We even went down a lap, fought like hell for rookie, or the rookie spot there, or the lucky dog, that's what I'm trying to say. We ended up getting that for the second half of the race, which really set us up good to be able to fight with the top 5 guys there, and we ended up getting a 4th, which we were happy with. You know, a podium would have been pretty cool to finish on the podium of all 3 races, but West Coast Swing, it treated us good.
Now, you mentioned you've got Jason Hathaway, who you're running for in that team, who actually recently stepped away, took a management position over at that team, and you've really filled that spot as a driver. But like you said, Jason Hathaway's seen a lot of success on the NASCAR Pinty Series circuit, and you haven't been to a lot of these racetracks. Has Jason been there driver coaching you and helping you out to get acclimated to these new tracks?
Yeah, he's been a huge help this year, especially with the road racing and street race courses. I'm an oval racer. I've never even looked at street racing ever until this year at the Pinty Series. So he's been a huge help. He's had some success on road courses, and just little tips and tricks of braking points and shift points and things like that on the road have really helped me on road racing. As for the ovals, he's been a help there as well. Just with lines and where to be and where not to be. I probably would have figured it out in practice, maybe give me 10 laps and I would have had it figured out. But having him explain it to me just before practice just gets us up to speed that much quicker, which is a huge help for me.
Still a couple of road course events coming up on the schedule, including Three Rivers next week in about 10 days from now. And then, of course, we go back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Doubleheader weekend with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on August 26th. Can't wait to get there for that, one of my favorite days of the year. Now, you were from Ontario, but we first came into the NASCAR fold driving a modified, running the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour back in 2012, 2013. What ultimately led you back to Canada to run full-time in the Pinty Series?
It was something my family and I have been looking at for the past couple years to get back racing in Canada. It's pretty tough being Canadian, crossing that border with the money exchange right now. So it makes it super tough, and it's pretty tough to get sponsors from Canada and then go race in the States. So we were focusing on trying to get something going here back in Canada, and we tried for a few years, but we just couldn't get the right deal put together. And NASCAR Pinty's actually give us a phone call, and they put us in front of Ed Hackinson Racing and Jason and Ed, and just really outstanding guys, proven track record, and we got a deal together, and I'm super excited to be racing for this team this year.
Now, like Kyle mentioned, you did get your start in that NASCAR Modified Touring Series, and we look ahead in the NASCAR Pinty Series schedule, and for the first time, they're actually coming to New Hampshire Motor Speedway and making a start down there. You've been there before, though, in a modified, and now you've got this first win under your belt, and you're going to a racetrack that a lot of people haven't been to. Do you feel like you have an upper hand going into New Hampshire later in the season now?
I believe so, yeah, just because nobody else has been there, so I kind of know the line a little bit, even though driving a modified there versus driving a Pinty's car there, it's a totally different thing. I bet you the modified drives it in 30 car lengths deeper than what these Pinty's cars are able to do. So that'll be a little bit of an adjustment for me from the last time I was there anyway. It might feel like I could get out and walk beside the car, which would be kind of funny. But, I think I have a little bit of an upper hand on these guys just because I've been there. It should be pretty fun. I've got that one circled on the calendar of one of the races that I'm really, really wanting to try win, and I think we got a pretty good shot at it.
Cole Powell joining us here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, race winner last week in the NASCAR Pinty Series, claiming his first win. Talking about New Hampshire, the first race on American soil for the NASCAR Pinty Series. Is that something that you may want to see more of down the road, Cole? I know there's a lot of short tracks, especially up in New England, that I think would love to host a NASCAR Pinty Series race in years to come.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to kind of venture off into the States a little bit. It's a lot of work for these Canadian teams to get over the border, though. It's not as simple as what people might make it out to be. So it's kind of a stressful thing for truck driver and getting your manifest and everything that way. But yeah, it'd be definitely cool to venture over and show American race fans what us Canadians can do and what we're about.
And you are running full-time in the NASCAR Pinty Series, but we have talked about how you've got experience in a modified and a late model background. What does your season consist of outside of the Pinty Series? Can we expect you to maybe see you in a modified or a late model anytime soon?
Definitely in a late model. Jacassa Speedway up here in Canada in Hagersville, Ontario, is hosting what I believe is now the biggest payout late model race in North America. It's $50,000 to win. So I've raced there twice. I raced there once last year in a late model and once this year in a Pinty's car. So we're going to gear up a late model for that big show. And there's another race. It's the APC series that we have throughout Ontario here. They're going to be racing the Saturday night, a 100-lap race. And then Sunday is the big money race, a 200 laps in a pro late model. So we're going to gear up our 2 late models for that and go have some fun there that weekend. Other than that, nothing else planned, just really focusing on this Pinty Series and try to chase down LP Dumoulin for the championship.
And there's only 4 points between you two. Is that something that you look at week to week, especially at this point of the season, right around the halfway mark for the NASCAR Pinty Series?
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't really looking at it up until Wyatt Group when we left there leading the points. I really wanted to go into Edmonton and finish Edmonton strong with a little bit more of a gap, just because the next race that we're going to is a road or a street race, and I'm not a street racer, so and LP is. So I wanted to have a little bit bigger of a gap. That didn't end up working out. So we're just going to have to stay consistent in Montreal and hopefully stay there right with them. And if we can't beat them, stay there right close with them. So the gap's not huge going into the next oval where we feel a lot more confident going to those races.
Wrapping up with Cole Powell here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. Cole, congratulations on a very successful West Coast swing for you and your team, and including your first win. Best of luck to you the rest of this 2018 season.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate you having me on the show today.
First full season and running for a championship in the NASCAR Pinty Series up north of the border in Canada. Cole Powell, fun to watch a couple of years ago when he ran the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour full time, and fun to watch him run against these NASCAR Pinty Series veterans up in Canada. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Evergreen Speedway in Monroe, Washington. They have a big event coming up with the NASCAR K&N Series. That track's promoter, Jeremy Anders, will join us after the break.
Chris Crockett here with another member of our Toyota racing family. Reggie, you've taken tailgating to new places. You've converted this school bus into a giant brisket smoker?
It's table stakes, Chris. Oh, you see that? That's my lookout tower, so I can see Kyle Busch taking the lead.
Wow, what's the cage for?
That's for the tailgaters.
Oh yeah, that's a real alligator. NASCAR and Toyota Racing. With a family like this, who knows the places we'll go as things heat up this summer. Learn more at toyotaracing.com. Toyota, let's go places. NASCAR is a registered trademark of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, Inc.
Change is good. You're either growing together or growing apart. You know, some kind of change is always happening.
There are plenty of changes in the NASCAR garage in 2018. What isn't changing is NASCAR Today Midday, keeping you up to date.
To be able to drive for Roger Penske on the Cup side has been something I've always wanted to do, and to bring the 12 car back, I think it's a pretty big deal.
Your midday NASCAR fix is NASCAR Today Midday, weekdays here on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Hercules Tires and by Grunt Style. Here are Kyle Rickey and Hannah Newhouse.
Each week here on the show, we love talking about NASCAR short track racing across the country. And for me personally, I've taken an interest in seeing what makes these tracks tick and what makes them so successful on a weekly basis. And joining us now on the guest line is the promoter of one of those successful short tracks on the West Coast up in Washington at Evergreen Speedway. Jeremy Anders joins us on the guest line. Jeremy, welcome to NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
A very diverse season for you guys, and we love following your schedule. I mean, from figure eight racing to the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West. First off, how's the 2018 season going thus far for you, as you guys are just over halfway through your season?
Well, I have to say that our season started off kind of a slow start. We had a few rain nights, and we're probably one of the only tracks you'll find in the country. We race rain or shine no matter what at Evergreen Speedway, so we never rain out all of our classes. The only classes that we do rain out are sprint cars or super late models. Every other division runs in the rain, so our April and May were kind of a rough start there, but ever since then it's been really good, other than that one Saturday at the end of June for our biggest race of the year for Summer Showdown, which we got rain on, but we finally got the event in. But other than the rain this year, car counts have been up, we've got great fan counts, and the racing has been really, really good on the new 3/8 track that we got repaved in the offseason.
And let me tell you, too, I was actually there at the Summer Showdown, as Jeremy knows, and what a cool event. All weekend long, everyone comes together. Some of the best super late model racers in the West Coast came up to Evergreen, and it was a great weekend. Even though we ran on Sunday, it was beautiful weather that Sunday to get it done. But you're recently coming off a pretty cool deal that you guys put together this past weekend, a throwback race that you had super late model drivers, honoring a lot of those in the Northwest racing legends. How did that come together, and did you take that inspiration maybe from like Darlington, which we have coming up?
Yeah, and first of all, I think you earlier said me as a promoter. My boss, Doug and Tracy Hobbs, they take the helm of the ship here. I just get a chance to work with it. They let me kind of turn loose on what we got to do here. And in the off season, I kind of had a dream of, I grew up following the NASCAR Northwest Tour back in my day, and got to go to all those tracks as a kid. I remember on Friday afternoons, my dad picked me up from school, and we'd go to some different track across the Northwest and go watch the Northwest Tour back when NASCAR had those regional touring series. And there's a Facebook group out there that has quite the following of former drivers, crews, and families. And I kind of put the idea out there that I was thinking about doing it, and nothing's been done since the tour ended in 2006 as far as a get-together. And I put it together, and we were able to get some little sponsor money up there for throwback paint schemes, and I ended up having a pretty good purse for the super late models. We had 27 racers in the race, which included 5 past tour drivers in that race. And then we had 27 different past NASCAR Northwest Tour drivers on top of that show up for the driver reunion, including 10 of the past champions. And a lot of these drivers haven't seen each other for a long time, and it was also a way of trying to re-engage. There's an old fan base, I feel like, in the Northwest that's kind of maybe fell off from racing a little bit, doesn't follow as often because we've had so many tracks closed in the Northwest lately and kind of up and back and forth. And I was able to talk to quite a few of those fans this past weekend at the race, and I think to try and re-engage that old fan base was something I was going for, and I think it worked out pretty well. And we had a lot of old drivers, a lot of old fans, a lot of old crews, and it was a fun event, and it was kind of inspirational. A lot of them want to say, let's do it next year, but let's do it bigger next year. So we're excited about it for going forward.
Love those throwback events. Like Hannah mentioned, we have Darlington Raceway here in South Carolina that does it with the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series. I believe the Cars Tour does it at Hickory once a year, which is coming up here in a couple of weeks. So love to see that happening on the West Coast with some of the old Northwest Tour drivers. Now Evergreen, long-time running racetrack since 1954. It opened, an incredible history with NASCAR. You mentioned the Northwest Tour. The Camping World Truck Series ran there from 95 to 2000. The NASCAR K&N Pro Series West has run there since, I believe, like the 1960s. It's been a long time since they've been running at that racetrack. What ultimately got you attracted to Evergreen Speedway, and ultimately what allowed you to land the role that you're currently in there?
I grew up racing around the country with my life, and my dad crewed, and I tried to be a driver myself, and made that I was a better announcer than I was a driver, and so that kind of led me that role there. And I was given the opportunity by Garrett Evans, his track on Wenatchee Valley Super Oval, and started there and kind of grew up to call races for the Northwest Super Late Model Series, and started working quite a few big events across the Northwest, including the Summer Showdown and the Mark Galloway 150 and the K&N races that came to Evergreen Speedway as kind of a contributor for those races. And the last couple of years, the opportunity came that Doug and Tracy Hobbs gave me the opportunity to come on full time here. And We probably have one of the bigger staffs you'll find at most short tracks in the country, but we do so many different things at this facility. It's a multi-purpose facility with, racing every Saturday night, but we also have drifting, autocross. We go to national events like that, and we do so many big events like the NASCAR Canadian Series, the multiple big super late model races that we do a year. I feel like we do some of the biggest ones you'll find on the country, and we do it multiple times a year, our track. And then hopefully in maybe a few years, we can get the Truck Series back here as well. And it's a great facility. I mean, it's one of the top-notch facilities you're going to find in the country. And the history here is probably one of the things that drew me in the most, because there's so much history at this track from, every driver that used to come here. I mean, this was one of the last tracks that Davey Allison raced at before he passed away. I mean, back in the day, Bill Elliott used to come out here all the time and race. Ken Schrader's only has one thumb now, and he lost that thumb racing a figure 8 car here on a Friday night before a Truck Series race here back in the day. So it's kind of some great stories you hear that happen at this facility.
And it is such a cool facility, too. I have to say, though, I will give you mad props. I saw that you got Gary Lewis out of retirement to come race this past weekend. And anyone who doesn't know, Gary Lewis is much like a Garrett Evans. He's a racing legend in the Northwest, hasn't been racing the last couple of years, and returned to Evergreen Speedway this past weekend. So what a cool deal to see. But as we look forward, we've got the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West coming to Evergreen Speedway here in the next couple weeks. They're going to be on that 5/8 mile track. Really, really fast. You mentioned that you guys put on a lot of different events, but ultimately, what does it take to host a race like the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West, especially when you have a big super late model field that follows it up?
Yeah, we do a back-to-back. I think with us to do both a K&N race and a super late model race on the 5/8 track is pretty big. I mean, considering it's one of the biggest tracks you'll see the K&N cars on this year. I know a lot of drivers like it because it is a big track. They're not racing on the smaller 3/8 or quarter miles that a lot of the tracks they go to. And to do 2 races on that, it takes a lot. There's always the sponsorships help quite a bit. We have some great sponsorships with Napa that help us out with that. The West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame came on board this year, and then we have Heritage Distilling. So we would not be able to do what we do without our sponsors. And so spending a lot of time throughout the year getting those sponsors secured that Doug and Tracy do a great job of, and I'm able to help contribute to and help out that part to get those in there. And our staff, though, I mean, it's a lot of work because we do those 5/8 races. And Hannah, I know you saw this. We kind of have to rebuild our track every single week when we do these 5/8 races, because when we race on the 3/8 side of the track, we actually tear down the wall of the 5/8 and use that area for the pitting area. So we have these 5/8 races, so this weekend we have a huge sprint car race on the 3/8 track, one of the biggest asphalt sprint car races in the country, with 35 sprint cars, and then we're going to convert it over the week to become a 5/8 track. We have to spend time with man lifts and moving K-walls and barriers like that. So it's a lot of man hours, a lot of staff time. That we have a great staff here that we're able to make it a multifunctional facility. So the biggest thing is sponsorship and man hours. That's it goes into it, and I think the people that have the passion for racing that we have at the track here help out to make it so successful.
And you have to be excited with the momentum that the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West is bringing to your racetrack right now. A tied championship battle now into the second half of the season. A lot of great personalities like Ryan Partridge, Derek Kraus, and Haley Deegan, who's making a name for herself this year as well.
Yeah, I'm excited for it with a great lineup that Bricotti's put together, and with Bill McAnally Racing. They have some great guys there. It's been great to see Derek Thorne back on the 5/8 track in a K&N car. He's been really successful over the last few years on the super late model side here. And I'm getting some rumblings. I can't confirm, but there'll be a few other drivers who are kind of getting back behind the wheel of a K&N car that I believe is in the works that will be coming out in the next couple of days, hopefully, on that announcement. And I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a good race. Last year, I think, was probably one of the raciest 5/8 races I've seen in the K&N cars in the last few years. With Chris Eggleston getting the win, it was actually Taylor Riddle made his K&N debut. And the 5/8 track is really interesting. And then the new thing this year that the drivers is it's kind of a whole new track for a lot of these people, because we repaved the 3/8 track. We completely repaved the front stretch of the 5/8 track in that sense. So it's a whole new front stretch. So drivers coming off of turn 4 have a lot more grip. That also means they have a lot of grip going into turn 1, and they lose the grip in the old corner. So it's going to make for some exciting racing and some adjustments for sure.
That racetrack, definitely an exciting track. I've actually raced it myself on a super late model, and I've been to Phoenix and I've been to a lot of big tracks, and there is nothing like Evergreen Speedway, so it produces some great racing. But if we take a look actually at the local level that you guys have, that NASCAR Will and All-American Series, you've got a pretty good battle shaping up as well for that super late model championship. You've got Garrett Archer, who's contending for the points, last year's champion Trenton Morardi, who's there, and then you've also got drivers like Tyler Tanner and Molly Helmuth shaping up. So your super late model season is looking to be pretty competitive as well.
Yeah, we have a good championship battle. It changed quite a bit this last weekend. Garrett Archer was the points leader, actually had some issues, and with the big car count that we did with 27 super late models, he fell off early in the race, and it tightened the points battle up quite a bit. I think we have 3 or 4 drivers now with Garrett Archer leading, Tyler Tanner, Trenton Moriarty, and then Brittany Zamora up there battling as well, and Donnie Wannett. 5 drivers in the top 5 and all separated by about 35 points heading into the final 3 races here. So last year, Trenton Moriarty had a pretty good grasp on things, but it's pretty exciting here. I mean, any given night, you don't know who could win their race, who's going to be fast time, and the 3/8 track creates some excitement. The 5/8 track always creates excitement as well. And I feel like we have some of the best drivers in the country at our facility, and it showcases that when, Kim's in for like the showdown, you bring in some of the top West Coast guys, and they race against our guys, and we still have, always 1 or 2 drivers up there in the podium, or 2 or 3 in the top 5. So we do have some great drivers here. I think that because we're kind of up in an island by ourselves, the Pacific Northwest, that they may not get showcased as much as they do. We try to showcase them through our social media channels as much as we can, get them exposure on the East Coast and West Coast. But Kevin Hamlin is a driver who spots for Alex Bowman in the Cup Series. But he got his start right here at Evergreen Speedway and worked his way through the ranks. And a lot of great drivers who came to the ranks here have gone to bigger, better things. And a lot of drivers say this track is one of the toughest tracks, especially the 3/8 track. Probably one of the most interesting Turn 1 entrances you'll find anywhere in the country because of the offset going into Turn 1 of the 3/8, because it also is the same entrance into Turn 1 of the 5/8.
Great drivers, great track, and always fun to watch when the races are on fanschoice.tv on most weekends. Jeremy Anders joining us. Jeremy, congratulations on what has been a great year for you guys. Best of luck the next couple of months as you begin to wind down your 2018 season, which includes a K&N race here in about 12 days from now.
Yeah, we're excited for it to end out the year, and I thank you guys for allowing me to be on and showcasing our little piece of heaven up here in the Pacific Northwest.
We thank you for joining us. Jeremy Anders, the promoter of the Evergreen Speedway up there in Monroe, Washington, joining us here in the show. And Hannah, I'm disappointed we ran out of time with Jeremy. Never got to talk about the 90 Minutes of Fear. I love that event. I don't know why. Maybe it's the name of the race.
I'd never even heard of the 90 Minutes of Fear, but if we're talking about crisscrossing and doing figure 8 racing, I'll stick to my multiple left-hand turns and, the fear of maybe hitting a lap car. I'm good. But apparently, yeah, like you said, 90 Minutes of Fear. Ooh, I'm good. Keep me in the studio.
90 minutes of crisscross racing. It's fun to watch every year at Evergreen Speedway. Coming up, a preview of the weekend ahead as we wrap up this edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there, whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast, brought to you by Hercules Tires and by Grunt Style. Here are Kyle Rickey and Hannah Newhouse.
Wrapping up another edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network, and wanting to thank another one of our sponsors, The Ridge, which is a minimalist front pocket wallet that helps you reevaluate your everyday carry. Launched by a father-son team and funded on Kickstarter in 2013 to the tune of $266K, The Ridge now resides in the pockets of over 250,000 men and women around the world. The RFID blocking wallet is made of 2 metal plates, either titanium, carbon fiber, or aluminum, bound together by a durable elastic band. Get 10% off today with a free worldwide shipping by going to ridgewallet.com. That's ridgewallet.com, and use the promo code RACING to get 10% off. Ditch your bulky wallet today and get the Ridge at ridgewallet.com. Wrapping up this edition of NASCAR Coast to Coast, we talked about the 3 NASCAR Pinty Series winners earlier, Cole Powell being one of them. Also winning over the weekend up in Saskatoon, Donald T. picked up his first career NASCAR Pinty Series win. LP Dumoulin leads the championship standings by 4 points over Cole Powell. This week, though, Hannah, the NASCAR Modifieds are back in action. They go to the Stafford Motor Speedway this coming weekend, and can anybody slow down Justin Bonsignor, who had his worst finish of the season at Stafford earlier this year? A tough 8th-place finish in the Spring Sizzler. That's the kind of season that Justin's been having.
It is, but he has been so strong everywhere else. He got that All-Star Shootout win at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, but a couple positions behind in the actual race on Saturday. So I think we've got to look at a couple other people. I'm not sure if anyone can catch him in this championship chase so far, but as far as a winner, Chase Dowling is looking for redemption. He's had a couple runner-up finishes, almost won that race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. He's strong at Stafford. So if weather holds up for these NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour people, I think we're going to potentially see a new winner at Stafford this weekend, which would be a little refreshing, but Justin Bonsignor, he is just checked out in points right now.
Chase Dowling's been so close so many times. He's actually second in points, 32 points behind our championship leader, Justin Bonsignor. The NASCAR K&N Pro Series East back in action at Watkins Glen, and there's going to be a lot of star power in that race this Friday, Hannah.
It is, but the question also is, can anyone catch Will Rogers? This kid shows up at these road courses exclusively in the K&N Pro Series and just kicks butt. He won earlier at Sonoma. He won the race last year here. So if he can win this race at Watkins Glen this upcoming weekend, that's like 4 wins in a row only on road courses. So can anyone catch Will Rogers? He's got Brett Moffitt, Bubba Wallace. They're all coming for him, but, I mean, he's proven he's good.
I believe Eric Jones on the entry list, Noah Gragson on the entry list, going to get some extra road racing experience before the trucks head to Canada to begin their playoffs in a couple of weeks. Hannah, it's been fun. Another quick show. Have fun this weekend wherever your travels may take you.
Not sure where, but I guarantee you I'll end up at a short track.
It'll be fun. Looking forward to it. Want to thank everyone on today's show. Cole Powell joining us, along with Jeremy Anders. For producers Craig Moore and Brian Yesowich, she's Hannah Newhouse. I'm Kyle Rickey. We'll see you back here next week on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
NASCAR Coast to Coast is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.